I just think it's notable to bring up that how significant losing your parents is to a person's life and how much it impacts them. It impacts someone, and there's been no comment, no tears. And I just think that that is worth noting. You know, certainly you could take that in a couple of different ways. You could say, well, maybe they're just not an emotional person. That's certainly possible, but it also suggests a certain amount of callousness, and perhaps even lack of remorse that is worth noting. So I'm going to spend the bulk of my time talking about the seriousness of the offense. And part of what that entails is the fact that this world no longer has Bart and Krista Halderson. And so I think it's an important part and to reflect on who they are. I'm going to start that by reading two victim impact statements. One was submitted to you earlier, but they asked that I read it out loud. The other one has not been submitted yet. It was just written today, I believe. The first victim impact statement is submitted by CAN, who's the future daughter-in-law to Bart and Krista Halderson. She's engaged to their son, Mitchell. She writes, "My life will be forever changed by the actions that occurred the week of July 1st through July 7th of 2021. I've lost my future mother and father-in-law in such a senseless and brutal way. This loss will remain with me for the rest of my life. I personally have been deeply impacted by this loss. My mental and physical health have suffered tremendously. As Mitchell and I move forward planning our wedding, each decision we make comes with a reminder of two of the most important people to us, Bart and Krista, will not be there to celebrate this special occasion with us. I've cried about their loss on multiple occasions and will continue to mourn and cry many more times. I've experienced a lot of weight loss as I was unable to eat due to the high level of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty surrounding what had happened to Bart and Krista over that long period of time. I missed work for over a month, and even now that I'm back, there are times I struggle to make it through the day. Bart and Krista were amazing people. They were there to help everyone and anyone with whatever they could. Krista had always been so welcoming to me. From the first time I met her in 2014 for Christmas to the morning that we both called her and Bart to tell them the good news that Mitchell and I were engaged in 2020, to the afternoon we spent at their home for Father's Day in June of 2021, just a week before they were killed. Krista was excited to talk with me and always made me feel at home. Bart had a wonderful sense of humor and was a great handyman. He helped us set up many things when we moved into our new home and helped teach us so that we could do it on our own next time. I miss their warm presence and their kind hearts every single day. Both Bart and Krista had so much to look forward to that they will never get to experience. They will never get to see their son get married or start a family. Mitchell and I will miss them terribly during these milestones. Holding their grandchildren, watching them play sports, hearing about school, and all those things that Bart and Krista were so excited for, they will never get to do. They loved going to wineries, breweries, concerts on the square, the farmers market, and had been dreaming about many different trips to explore Wisconsin and the United States. But again, due to their senseless murders, they will never get to experience these things. We are comforted in knowing that Chandler cannot physically hurt us. However, if he was given the opportunity for parole, I would be terrified for Mitchell and my family's safety. Given the fact that he was capable of such calculated and horrific act of murder, I do not believe my family would be safe if he were ever to be released from prison. For this reason, I believe he should not be given the chance for parole. Bart and Krista's murders have greatly impacted my life and the rest of the Halderson and Frater family lives as well. The second letter is from Kayleen Halderson, mother of Bart and Chandler's grandmother. Judge, these are my feelings about Chandler. He is my grandson. I love him even though what he did was horrific. I can't believe his parents would want him to be incarcerated for life. I'm hoping he will find a trade or a craft while there to become a productive and caring person. We hope the people in charge of that facility will feel someday he deserves a second chance in life with a possibility of parole. Chandler's grandma, Chandler Halderson. So last week, I had the pleasure and the opportunity to meet with Krista's best friend of 38 years, Jane. And I just spoke to her very candidly. Tell me about Bart and Krista. And she shared some really interesting and I think important things. She shared that Krista was a staple in her life, a sister in every way except for biological. She was the aunt to her daughters. She described Krista Halderson as having a lightness about her, that when she'd walk into the room, you would just feel happier. She was bubbly. She was a helper, wanted to always fix people's problems. Krista was described by her boss at work as the work mom for everything. She was the person you went to if you needed Tylenol, a hug, or a pep talk. She listened to people and cared about people. She went out of her way to lift people up. She was the type of person that you would feel happier, that would make you feel happier after you talked to her. The title that was most important to Krista was that of mom. That was her identity. Being a mom was her purpose in life. She was the type of mom that had bins where she saved her kids' Legos for the grandchildren. She had meticulous bins in her basement, each one perfectly labeled with no dust on them, that were organized and labeled their awards, their Eagle Scout journey, and various paraphernalia and photos. Jane said Krista was a joy and a blessing. I not only talked to Jane about Bart Halderson, but also his family over the last several weeks. Bart was quieter. He worked hard and he provided for his family. He was up for quite a big promotion right before his murder. He liked the outdoors, nature, fishing, and his family. He was redoing and in the process of renovating his entire house, nearly down to the studs. He had recently built a brand new dining table made of pure wood, which he had hoped that they would use for the rest of their lives, celebrating the holidays with the grandkids. He was close with his older brother, Brett, and his parents, who are both still alive. Bart is described as generous, doing little things to take care of people. Jane pointed out that every time he was in Milwaukee, he would always take her daughters out when they were in college for a free meal with their Uncle Bart. One other thing that actually one of our detectives pointed out today is in the course of their employment, they read through a whole bunch of text messages from all sorts of people. And they were really struck about how nice Bart and Krista were. They really didn't say a bad word about anyone, not even to each other. They were kind, respectful. They texted often about worrying about this son or that son and various things. They were loving towards each other. Bart and Krista, of course, will now not see their older son get married. They won't be present for their grandchildren. They won't get to experience the retirement that they really had been planning for decades. And they didn't get to say goodbye to anyone. Multiple people, when we talked to them about Bart and Krista, said, you know, if they would have found out about Chandler's lies and his deception, they would have been upset. They would have been. But they also would have worked with him to get him back on the right track. They were sure of this. More than one person had made a statement like this to us, that Bart and Krista would have continued to be the supportive parents that their entire track record had showed that they were.